like natural sunlight, so it might be a little bit different. But as I do my makeup, we're gonna talk about this movie called Bad Romance, the Vicky and Casey White story. And when I tell you, when I was watching that, it was blowing my mind, especially finding out it was based off true events. So there was a lot of things that was really throwing me off based on the decisions of this woman. So the movie starts off with us meeting Vicky White. She is a correctional officer in Alabama. And as the movie begins, it starts like with the alarm going off. It's the morning and she's just getting ready for her day. She wakes up, she does her little breakfast, talks to her dog, goes to work. And mind you, these first few scenes that are playing, the setting is really dark. Like it's gray, very monotone, very like dull. So they put that in the film to show that maybe she was bored. It was very dull. So she goes to work. She's really high up in her job. She's really well respected. She keeps getting awards. Like it showed, they made this cake for her. She got awards almost every year. She made a speech about how she really, really enjoys her job. Like she loves her job and whatnot. After that, it's like the same scene keeps playing over and over and over again, basically showing that she does the same thing every day. There's no oomph to her life. It's lackluster. We see her go to dinner with her mother, and her mother is trying to, hook her up with some guy who is 70, and she is not 70, so she rejected that. But afterwards, she goes to her ex-husband's house, who she cares for, and she comes to visit because he has Parkinson's disease, and, he shakes. He can't really do things on his own, so she comes over, she feeds him, she makes him dinner, and he asks her, "What'd you do today? How was your day?" And she was complaining, if you ask me every day what I did today for the next 10 years, it's going to be the same thing every day. She referred it to the movie The Groundhog Day. I've never watched that movie, so I don't know what that's about, but same day, same thing every day, boring. She tried to spice it up by going to the bar, and she was complaining that none of the guys even looked at her. She's bored. 2020. She has to pick up this guy named Casey White, and she has to bring him to his arraignment to get sentenced. He was transferred from like somewhere else, I don't know what jail, didn't really specify in the movie, to be sentenced. Casey White was being sentenced to 75 years, about many charges since 2015. The biggest one being the murder of his ex-girlfriend, Connie Ridgway. He gets convicted for 75 years, and Casey brings him back to this jail where she's working. He decides that he's gonna go up over there and start flirting with her and telling her how she's such a sexy lady and whatnot. And she, she was being playful, but she eventually just starts eating it all up. And I'm just like, girl, this man, you just watched him get sentenced 75 years, okay? You just watched him get sentenced 75 years for murder and much more. You want to eat up him calling you sexy. Child, please. So he was talking about,
"Oh, I'm gonna get out on parole. I'm not doing all that time. You're so fine. Blah, 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 girl. I'm gonna get you flowers. We're gonna get married. We're gonna have a bunch of kids."
and she was like, "Oh, I like flowers." And he picked up a weed from the ground. Those freaking like little yellow flowers that I'm pretty sure are weeds. He picked that up off the ground and gave it to her, and she accepted it. A convict, a murderer of his ex-girlfriend, gave her weed, and she fell head over heels. Ciao. Okay, so eventually after that, every time they see each other, they start flirting with each other, and they were growing a liking to each other. But eventually, because Casey White is crazy, he decided that he was going to try and stab one of the correction officers and, literally just try to escape. So because he did that, he had to get moved to a whole nother facility. And there was a scene in the movie where he was like, oh, Casey, I'm going to miss you. And she was like,
"You
Girl, please. Girl, bye. But after that, when he was transferred, she started writing him letters. They started calling each other, flirting, and saying the most raunchy and filthy things to each other. Like, come on right now. Girl, bye. And him, what are you doing? It's a police officer. It's not how things are supposed to go. You're in jail. That means you're on punishment. You're not supposed to be, like, flirting with the freaking police officer. Especially after you try to freaking stab her coworker. What's going on? What's going on? Anyways, her ex-husband is dying. He has, as I said before, Parkinson's. And he's really getting sick. It's really like his last days. She asks him, like, your entire life, would you do the same things over? Like, you know, you've destroyed your body with, you know, the alcoholism. Would you do the same things over? He said,
heck yeah, honey. I would do the same things over and over again. You, on the other hand, you wasted your life, man. You don't do nothing. You don't got nothing. You're boring. My life was fun. Get your life.
That's basically what he was saying to her. And that's rude. Boy, don't tell me my life is boring and to get my life when you're on your deathbed because you couldn't put down a bottle of alcohol. Don't piss me off. But he said that to her, and, you know, that really got to her. She's like, dang, my life is boring, huh? How's this freaking addict gonna tell me I wasted my life and he destroyed his? Like, that's crazy. So she decided she was going to destroy hers too. So she, you know, continued this romantic, non-physical relationship with Casey White. And eventually he admitted to other crimes that he's done to get moved back to the facility where she was, which I believe is Fort Lauderdale, so he could be around her again. Once he was around her again, flirting was on 10. They're in person now. She told her mother she's dealing with a long distance relationship, and she would sneak him food. You know, the prisoners in reality even said that he was getting like a whole lot of special treatment at the hands of her. This facility that Vicky works at, she's been working there for almost 2 decades, maybe about 17 plus years or whatever. So she's on the brink of her retirement. And eventually, when her ex-husband dies, she decides, she gets depressed. You know, he told her he wasted her life, and she's like, the one that she's in love with is a convict. He's in jail for murder. You know, I can't even really physically be with him. Eventually, she decides that she's going to break him out of jail. She goes shopping. She buys some clothes. She buys a 2007 Ford Edge. In the movie, she pulls out her retirement money. She's like, hey, I want to retire. I'm done, you know? I want to go do something else. I want to go to the beach. So she pulls out that money, which was like $96,000, and she puts all the plans together. So this woman, she gets the car, she buys some clothes, she goes and buys like lingerie, and she sets her plan. She's retiring, she pulled out her money. Nobody's gonna be looking for her. She goes to work, she says, hey, I have to take Casey to a psych evaluation for his upcoming court case, and I'm actually feeling sick. So I'm gonna take him, then I'm gonna go home. Or I'm gonna go to urgent care. And then the person she was reporting that to, he said, oh, I'm gonna come with you because this man's crazy, honey. He tried to attack someone, and you can't go alone. Like, that's the rule. With him, you can't go alone. So she did this convincing, and she was like, no, I will go alone. I got it. Like, I've been doing this for so long. I got it. So they let her go. That was negligent on their part, but I guess she was good at talking, good at convincing. And, you know, they trusted her. She's worked with them for like 17 years. No one in their mind would think that she had other plans than to drop this man off to get psyche evaluated. So she gets him, she finds him. She had a hard time finding him outside or whatever. She puts him in the car. She's like, okay, like, we gotta go right now. Come with me right now. He's like, okay, question mark. Let's go. Psych evaluation. I did not have one of those today, but let's roll. She drives far, and she drives to this, like, intersection and storefront, like, a place where it's kind of dingy, like, maybe a lot of convenience stores and are around, and he's finally like, why are we over here? Like, what's happening? Like, I'm so confused. And she's like, I just busted you out of jail. He was happy, of course. Nobody wants to be in jail. It's not nice. It's boring. You have no freedom. He's like, there's no way, like, you busted me out of jail. She's like, yeah. So he's like, okay, get me out of these cuffs. She takes him out the cuffs. They start kissing. They are, like, really excited. And she gives him the clothes that she bought for him. She's like, all right, let's roll. She gets in her getaway car, and they are off. So hours and hours later, the headquarters get a call like, hey, like, one of our police cars are abandoned in, like, this area. And they're like, okay, let's go check on it. They pull up. They see Casey White's not there. They know that Vicky. They know that Vicky White is not in there. And they know that she was the one who signed this car out. And they know that she signed it out with Casey White. And they look in the car and they see that, like, the chains, he's not cuffed. And they think the worst. They're like, oh my goodness, this man, he kidnapped Vicky. Like, we have to find them. Meanwhile, child, they is on the road. Okay? They're on the road figuring out whether they want to go to Canada or Mexico. And yeah, that's what they're trying to figure out. They're not having a worry in their mind. Y'all thinking she kidnapped. She's on the run.
I don't care if we on the run, baby, long as I'm next to you.
I wouldn't be surprised if they were playing that in the car. Like, they were serious about this. So Vicky shows him that she's got all this guns and ammunition that she picked up. She has clothes for him. And she also has a bunch of spray paint. She's like, we have to paint the car because when they come looking for us, they're going to be looking for this car. And he was like, no, let's just, like, get a whole different car. Like, we're not going to take this. So they go around and they're driving. The police are now starting an investigation. We need to find this woman. Our coworker, our beloved friend, has been kidnapped by a convict murderer. We need to do something. We need to move fast. You know, that's what they're thinking. Psych. So as they're investigating, they realize that Casey White did not have an evaluation today. Well, the day of the escape, April 29th. They were like, he does not have no freaking evaluation today. So what's really going on? And then one of the other coworkers were like, well, they kind of have a relationship. You know, we joke around about it. So then they were like, we now know what's truly going on. So they decide, okay, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go and we're going to put on the news that we think that she's been kidnapped. And we're just going to start looking for that Ford Edge. Boom. They're doing that. Casey and Vicky get a new car and they're on the road. They went on the run for 11 days. They spent some time in the woods, like camping. And then they spent a majority of their time in a motel. And they kept switching cars. I think they switched like 3 to 4 times. And it was just getting ridiculous. Like, in the movie, I don't know about if in real life the complaints made in the movie were real. Casey was like, we need to get out of here. I cannot stand this. I'm locked in this motel room. Might as well be in jail. Like, can we just go? We need to start our life over. Let's go to Canada. We do not need to stay here for much longer. On the news, they put that. They realized that Vicky is not kidnapped. This man is dangerous, but she's not kidnapped. So they let the world know that. They say, I want you to be looking for car XYZ. Meanwhile, they knew that the car they told the majority to look for, they knew that Casey and Vicky were not in that car. They just didn't want Casey and Vicky to, you know, change the car again because they were actually on their tail. May 2nd, 2020. Casey and Vicky are on the road again, heading to Canada. They are now in, I think it's called Evansville, Indiana. And they are driving when a police car pulls up next to them. They keep driving as if they don't see, but then they realize, you're done, son. Okay, so now they realize, okay, these cops are after us and they're near us and we are fudged. So they go on a high-speed chase. Vroom, doing the dash. Vicky is driving, I believe. She's been driving this whole time. And eventually the car flipped over. In the movie, while the crash happened, they were able to grab Casey and arrest him. And while they were arresting him, Vicky unalived herself with a gunshot wound to the cranium. The movie ended like that. And it gave quotes that they gave to each other. Casey saying that Vicky was the nicest person's ever been to him and that he will love her forever. And that's how the movie ended. Now, the movie is very up to par with the true story. May 2nd was really the date that this happened, that they were subdued. She did unalive herself, and he did say that he loves her and he wouldn't trash her for anything. It's very accurate from my research. I just have like a few things to say about this. And let me finish my makeup. What the heck? Really, like, what the heck? That's really what I have to say. When I tell you, I was not expecting her to end her life at all. That just really did a doozy on me. I think that, of course, she lost all judgment and she made a very, very horrible decision when she decided to be in a relationship with this man. It was crazy to see how this can happen. My input, my take on this is when you are self-conscious or you lack self-respect or you're highly insecure, you can get into situations like this. You should never, ever, ever in your life want to be with someone who killed his ex, who is in jail for killing his ex and like literally destroying your life. She was in a situation where she was on the brink of retirement. She had a home. She felt like her life was Groundhog Day, but she didn't have to live a Groundhog Day life. This pulling the money out and going to Canada with this man, she could have pulled the money out and gone to Canada by herself and found a man who wasn't psycho and who wasn't going to destroy her life. But by her taking her life, we obviously see that there were some underlying things going on as to mental health. Now, ladies, let me tell you something. A man pick up a weed off the ground and give it to you, don't go to the extremes that Vicky did. That was crazy. But it's just, and I feel like the movie, you know, kind of made it, like portrayed it in a way of how sad the situation is, because it is sad, but I think and I think that is what happened was very unfortunate. The mother of Vicky had no idea this was going on. So I think it's really important that you really check in on your family. And when they tell you, if you see like your child may be showing some signs of depression, you know, check in on your child. If you see your child is doing the same thing every day without like even though she was grown, Vicky was 60 years old. It's very important that you have a routine where you're doing something fun, but like it's not just work, sleep, work, sleep, work, sleep. Because when you live a life and you have too much time to yourself and you're just dwelling in maybe a depression, you can get yourself in situations like this. Now, let me tell you something. Vicky, child, you should have found me on Instagram and talk to me before you did this bogus stuff, because I would have helped you. I would have said, girl, you do not need to be with no convict. You can go to Canada by yourself. Maybe you need a change of scenery. You need to get out more. And you need to stop, like, feeling sorry for yourself. Stop treating your life like it's the Groundhog Day movie that you've been referring to. Find something fun to do. Pick up something. Not a man. That's a mental. Pick up a hobby. After all this, when Vicky unalived herself, they were not sure if she did that to herself or if Casey did that to her. But under investigation, they decided that she did take her own life and that Casey was not at fault for that. Because initially, they were going to charge him for her murder as well. But they figured out the way that the gunshot was, that it was self-inflicted, and that they were not going to persecute him for that. But for escaping jail, there is still, it's not something you're supposed to do. So instead, they gave him 20 years to life with the possibility of parole, and he was sentenced on June 8th, 2023. What the heck? Why does I just feel like the judicial system messes up again and again and again. Although they did come to the conclusion that the escape was not his plan at all. He had no time to plan for this or even initiate this, that it was all Casey's doing. Why does he have the possibility of parole? He's killed someone, his ex, and he escaped prison. I just kind of feel like, due to his track record, sometimes I do believe that people should have the chance to redeem themselves. Kill someone, it's not nice, but God gives grace. So do your time and get out. He did not do his time without keep doing bad things. So, I don't know, this possibility of parole is kind of throwing me. But if he behaves, then I guess it's okay. I think it's very unfortunate that Vicky felt like her life wasn't worth much for her to lose all judgment and be with that man and escape him. But if we're going to play devil's advocate, here's what she should have done. She want to escape with that man? She should not have been in that motel room for 4+ days. He should have switched her car and she should have kept going. No stops. No stops. And maybe you would have had a better chance, hun. I would never do something like that, but if I did, I'm lying. You catch me?
Oops, I was kidnapped. Help.
And I'm getting a lawyer to chew up the charges. Ladies, it is so important that you love yourself more than you love a man. It is so important that you value yourself, a relationship with God, over the idea of you have to have a man, or, just dwelling in your own loneliness. Because when you dwell in your own loneliness and you're not following Christ, you are going to feel like you have nothing to live for, and you might fall into serious insecurity. And I don't want that for anyone. I can't believe this story. Always work on your self-love, your self-confidence. I hope no one ever has to deal with something like that. And it's very unfortunate what happened. And ladies, don't do that. That's what we're going to learn. Self-love and the love of Jesus is the biggest thing. It's going to help you move through life, and it's going to help you avoid situations like this. Prioritizing a happiness that is superficial and a happiness that leads to destruction, it's never the way. All right, guys, so that was sort of my synopsis on the case of Casey White and Vicky White, and the synopsis of the movie Bad Romance. I think it's a good watch. I think you should watch it. It's on Lifetime, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I will be doing this more often, true crime or just story time while I do my makeup. And like, comment, subscribe, and share. Thank you.